Good day, everyone. Thank you for joining me. Here's our next victim, a Westinghouse super heterodyne radio. This is the WR-258 Westinghouse, made in 1938. That shows dual bands. This one's only AM, the AM bands, and it's a little rough shape. There you can see it's a little dirty inside, but not so bad. Gonna have to work on the case a little, but no problem. Just a quick look at the back of the chassis. These are the adjustments for the push button switches on the front. And, a couple of interesting stamps that were put on there at the time this particular radio was manufactured. Okay, so it's time to take this apart and see kind of what we got on the insides and see if it's been messed with, or what it looks like and what we think we need to do. So let me reset or adjust my camera and put this thing on its back, and we'll open it up and see what we find. One of the first things I noticed was that I had a hard time finding the model number for this, and that's because this sticker on the bottom would have said the model number, and it's missing obviously a big piece of it. Also, you'll notice the chassis screws. There are 4 places to screw chassis screws in, and only 2 exist. So that's probably a sure sign that somebody's already been in here. So we'll just see. Okay. Let's just see what we got here. Do little chassis screws out. Knobs off, please. Okay. This should come right off of here. And it does. This, the grill cloth's in pretty good shape, and so I think I'll try and keep it. Now I've got to work on this cabinet, so as I work on it, this decal is almost unreadable. It says power volume. Westinghouse, of course, and that's tuning, so I'm going to have to try to order some decals for this. But that's that's going to clean up okay. So we're going to, at some point, we'll take this out of here because I'm going to save it. But as I work on the cabinet, I want to make sure that I don't ruin the grill cloth. Okay. So, one of the things, this was kind of interesting. I don't know if can you see that? It says 1 socket, and I kind of could see that looking in the back before I undid everything here, was laying on the chassis, and there's another sticker here that says 1 tube. So I don't know if that means that somebody did some work at some point, and that's where they did some work, and they just noted that by putting these stickers on, or I don't know. I've never seen that before. So I wonder if there's a way. Of course, this one's already loose. I wonder if there's a way to save that and maybe put it back where I found it. And I'm okay with clean chassis, but I always wondered what people thought about I don't want to get, if I clean this up, I love this stuff that's on here, these stamps and stuff, and there's a number down here. A lot of folks will go ahead and just completely clean this up, paint them silver, and that's okay. And everybody's radio is their own, of course, but I hate to get rid of this. This is original to the radio. So this is obviously dirty, and I'm kind of big on knocking the dirt off, but I may try and see if I can somehow clean this up a little bit, but save these little stamps on here. I'm going to try to get a tensioner for this power cord. The power cord's not in bad shape. I don't think I'll save it. This part I'll probably save. I think that's pretty cool. It's kind of, I think it's plastic, but it looks pretty cool. So we'll probably try and save that plug. So here's my, oh, let's check one other thing since I kind of took a quick look at this. I see a hole here in the speaker. There's a tear there, there's a tear there. I'll be very careful, but yep, there's a little, so there's a little speaker repair to do. It's not bad. I will cover this immediately, and then somewhere in the process here we'll fix the speaker up. This tuning is, I don't know if it's like hanging up, and I hear a lot of scraping in there somewhere. I'll have to see if it's here or if there's something back here that's causing some problems. We'll try and see if we can cure that problem as well. All right, so that's what it looks like, and probably the only other thing we're going to do initially is we're going to pull the tubes. I'm going to check the tubes, and I'm also going to check, since this has a transformer, I'm going to check to make sure that none of these windings are open or shorted. Make sure the oscillator coil also is not open or has some problems, and same for the IF cans. So we're going to check those first, because if any of those have a problem, especially if this has a problem, you know, I don't know what we're going to do. So we'll start there, and if we get good news on that, we'll go on to the next step. So the information I have from writers says you can loosen up this little assembly with the push buttons, and you can kind of open it up and expose the components under the chassis. So that's what I did, and that's kind of a look at that push button assembly. Pretty dirty. We'll clean it up. As you can tell, at some time this transformer has been really hot and has oozed out a little bit, and it's even dripped onto the inside of the cabinet. So we're going to have to make sure that's still not an issue. So I wanted to check this transformer that has been under stress obviously in the past. So I tried to just check for shorts and opens, and I don't know, didn't have any luck. So I'm just going to pull the tubes, and I'm just going to check the voltages coming off the different windings. This is the heater. This is the winding for the heater, which I had a voltage for on the schematic. I was short on voltages in that schematic, but this one was listed, so it's supposed to be, I think, what did it say? 6 point something. It's 7.7. So I think we're going to I'm going to call that one good. You know, I hooked that up in the bottom. Apparently I got the right spot, and so that one's good. So we'll check another. So here's the other short winding. Doesn't give me a voltage, but I assume it's going to be about the same roughly as the other one. So we'll hook that up, give it a try, back on with the WR-258, the RCA, ISO tap 2. Turn it on, we'll see what we get. So a little over 6 volts. It's steady. I assume that that's right at about the correct voltage there. So we're going to assume that that winding's okay. So we'll test one more here in a second. So the last check would be the high voltage windings. And when I went to put this video together, I could not find the video of reading that voltage, but it was around 250. Wasn't rock solid like the other ones, but it's still, I think that's about the right range. So I don't think the transformer's bad. I think it's okay. At least we're going to go on that assumption for now and press on. So I heard a lot of noise when trying to do a little tuning on the dial, and here's the dial backplate. It's the backside of the backplate, and you can tell that it had some kind of lubricant on it at one time. Well, at the very top, the lubricant is worn off, but where you can see the dirt there is where the lubricant had attracted dirt through the years, and that's not going to work. So, at some point we'll hit that with some steel wool, both sides of that, and when we reassemble, we'll put we'll put some more lubricant on it. Hopefully that will stop at least part of our wonky tuning capacitor. Alright, so you know what this is. We're going to hit a little deoxit on these preset buttons and also on the tuning capacitor. We're going to clean out in there, and we're going to follow that up on the tuning cap with mechanical and electrical grease from deoxit, and then just work the heck out of that thing back and forth, and I think that's going to do the trick. So when I pulled the tubes out of the chassis, one of the grid caps came off. Probably not that uncommon, right, that happens. So I'm going to go in and take the solder out of the top of that grid cap. Use my little soldering braid. Try and suck all that up. It comes out pretty easy. It looks like, testing it there, it looks like most of it's already gone. So we'll try to see if we can't put this back together and reuse it. It should be okay. So, and there it is once I've got it cleaned up and everything. It's a little teeny tiny hole there. You can see the little light coming through. So a little tiny hole where the grid wire goes up through there, and we'll have to resolder. You can also see the old glue that was in the top of that. I'm not going to take that out because I need something for that last glue you'll ever need that I just showed you, and you can Google that if you're interested in it. It needs something to, it needs two surfaces to be able to touch each other with the glue in between for it to work. So I'm not going to take that glue out of the top of the cap, because I want when I add this product, I'm going to want that to push up against the glass, and that's what's going to make the bond. If you do get any of this stuff, please make sure you wear gloves, because if you get it between your fingers or between your finger and another surface, it's going to be a really unpleasant day. So it's really hard to undo an accident like that. So you see it's kind of watery, and it works somehow by the fact that when you push two surfaces together, they can be a similar or dissimilar type material, but when you press the oxygen out, this thing hardens up. And so I put some on there, and now I'm just going to put some pressure on and just leave it on there for, pressure from my fingers for just a few seconds here. And that will usually do it. Sometimes it's worked better if like, especially on wood against wood, if you let it set up for several hours. But that bonded immediately. So, yay. So anyway. So that's now secured back on the top of the vacuum tube, and I'll be a little tender with it, but I think it's fine. Won't have any problems with that. So now we're going to need to refill. There's a little, you see the little recessed area at the top there. We're going to need to, the little grid wire just pops up just barely through there. So we're going to need to refill that top with solder. So I'll get the soldering gun, well, it's not the soldering gun, my little soldering iron ready here, and we'll just fill that up. A little more maybe. That's about it. The edges were a little rough and the top wasn't perfectly smooth, so I'm going to smooth that off a little bit just for look's sake. But there you go. So hopefully, that saves a tube, and not too bad a procedure. All the tubes are out, so let's go ahead and give them a test and see if we need to get any tube orders in. That's the 5Y4, and I'm using my B&K 667 solid state tube tester. So we'll go to the book, find the tube, twiddle all the knobs and buttons, switches necessary, and then when we powered it on, we'll give it a test and see if it's any good. Great. It's good. Yay. Alright. I'll pull the tube out. Pull the tube out. Pull the tube out. Give it some force. You can do it. You can do it. There it goes. Okay. And next one, which was the 6K7. Again, go to the book, find it, fiddle with the knobs. Good. This tube will come out easy, right? Easy, easy, easy. Okay. All right. The next one. 6Q7. Go to the book. Good. Hooray. So far so good here. This one will come out easy, I promise. I promise, not hot. It'll come out. Just give it a little... Okay. Feels good when it happens, though, right? Okay. The 6A8. Look it up in the book. Do the knobs, and it tests great. And it'll just slip right out of there. And then this was the last one. I actually couldn't read that, but I happen to know the only tube in the tube complement that I hadn't tested was a 6K6, but it was kind of hard to read that. It was impossible. So I'm going to write that on there. 6K6. So I'll know later, and some other person later on will know, and then go through the little book of numbers till we find it. Set the knobs. Get everything ready. We'll give it a test. Hooray! So all the tubes are good, and they all tested pretty strong. So that's good to know. And one more time. There we go. So I appreciate that, my little tube tester. You did a great job for me. So we're going to put you back to sleep, and we'll use you again later. I promise. All right. So with tubes testing okay, I'm going to give this thing a little slow power up on the variac just to see if there's any life to it at all. So I'll go ahead and turn the switch on. I don't really need my gloves for this, but I had them on for the glue, so they just stayed on. But anyway, turn the volume up, and now we'll start to slowly bring up the variac. I think I did 2 clicks there, so that's like 50 volts. And the dial light is just barely illuminating. I don't think you can really see that in the video. Don't seem to be any problems. I think I'll go up another notch. That's 75, I think. And I don't know if that's enough. We may start We may start hearing some things here. I'm going to find out later that you desperately need an antenna. I'm not going to get any stations, and I'm not really getting good sound here either. So I hit one of the preset buttons, and then I went back to tuning, which doesn't make any sense because once you hit a preset button, your main tuning cap is not in play. But anyway, I'm going to go up to the, I think it's 100 volts. That's going to make some awful noise. There's some hum in there. There's also some kind of screeching, which doesn't really come through very well. And I'm not getting any stations. I'm going to find out for this radio that the more antenna, the better. But at this particular moment, I did not have an antenna hooked up to it. And nothing's getting hot. It wasn't really on long enough for the transformer to really show any problems. So, I think that's going to be the end of part 1. So we got some more work to do. We're going to make this just a 2-parter. So we'll finish up next time. I appreciate everybody watching. Please like and subscribe if you want to help a brother out.